we are live.
Welcome to Perspective Shift.
Hey, Mike, how's it going, man?
Good, Frank. Feels great to be here this week. How are you?
Doing really good. Yeah?
Good. Anything cool happen this weekend?
Yeah, everything cool. I don't know, this weekend, what happened?
Our weather is finally breaking here in Arizona. We're starting to get some cool weather, and I love it.
Yeah, it's perfect. Right?
This morning,
yeah.
I was going to say before we kicked off, we'd like to do a meditation. We got to have the windows and doors open. That was nice.
Yeah, with some air in.
Yeah, hell yeah. So this week we've got a real special guest, guys. I've really liked this guy for a while now. This gentleman's name is Matias De Stefano, and man, is this guy unique and have a story.
Yeah, very, yeah. So, yeah, his obvious story you can see in his past lives. So I think he was born from Argentina.
Yeah, born in Argentina, 1987. Yep, young guy. And his whole thing is he remembers. And when people say, what do you mean remembers? Well, he remembers a multitude of past lives.
Yeah, and what he brings through is the information to help us live a better life in this three-dimensional world. And he talks about the multi-dimensions, 1 through 9, and even talks about the principles and the laws pertaining to the 7 laws pertaining to the world in which we live in.
Yep.
So, yeah. Because have you ever met somebody that lived past lives?
Well,
or that remember them?
Of course. Well, Kayla, of course, yeah.
Right.
So multiple people that I've. So that's what's so unique about Matias. So Matias, different type, level of this, and what I mean by that is, I've seen people discuss past lives, have memories of past lives, and go deep into it, but Matias is very specific in what he remembers, and what I mean by that is he goes back to Atlantis. He goes back to
ancient Egyptian.
Yeah. I mean, there's a multitude of different realities that he can tell you where he lived, what it was called, what language was spoken. Yeah. He refers to Egypt, how it used to be, I believe it was Kempf or something like Kempf or something like, Kem. I can't remember. But he's got, he says, this area of Egypt was known as blah, blah, blah. And, and this is the language we spoke. And he's got past lives where he was a female as well. Yeah. And I love hearing him talk about that because his whole thing is based upon neutrality. That's a big backbone to what he's talking about is everything in this reality is an experience. And Frank and I were talking about this last week, but he explains hey, everything I'm sharing with you is simply a portion of the truth. It's my experience of the truth. And I remember several slices of those truths that I can share with you. And he explains I can give you my perspective onto it, but that doesn't mean it's the only truth. And I think that's very powerful as well.
Well, that comes into the play of one of the 7 laws, the 7 principles, that everything's a half truth. But the empirical truth is all truths are true based on your perspective. So that's kind of what he brings to the world. So I know he talked about remembering his life in ancient Egyptian, but he doesn't remember, he wasn't there. He doesn't have a memory of him being there when the pyramids were being built.
Yep.
They were already built, and so he understands the structure of them and the sacred geometry of it, but he wasn't there. It's it would have been nice to be there to see how they were built, but nonetheless, they talked about how they were built, and this is a very controversial thing. People talk about how were the pyramids built, knowing or understanding the size of the stones and what it would take to actually build this thing, construct it. And he talked about vibration in singing. So a lot of the workers would not, when they were working, they would actually sing, and they would create some type of resonance where it would create some type of electromagnetic field where the stones would be able to lift up in a frequency. And
we know this is true from the Tibetan monks that do this.
Yeah, well, it's right now scientists will do it in a lab, but they do it with very small objects. So for the main coverage of the world, people haven't really seen this. It's not happening everywhere. So this is why there's a lot of skepticism. Even these Tibetan monks, when they see it, you see a video of them, because I've watched stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, but when you get a scientist in there to try to discover this. Now, one of the things too is we talked about this idea before. If you're going into something and studying it, your objectiveness, or because you really can't be too objective about it, because if you were, you wouldn't want to study it. But yet your insight to how you think it's going to go weighs in on the result of the output of the test.
Absolutely.
So again, and we talked about this before, how I believe or how I know something will give me a direct result. If I believe it to some degree, I'm going to get some degree of result in the favorable position which I hold, or not favorable. If I don't think it's going to happen, I do it. I'm going to be like, oh, see, I told you it wasn't going to happen. So he, Matias, he talks about that as well too, how we perceive, and that's what he calls the slice of truth or the half truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You also kind of touched on a big element of Matias De Stefano's work when you brought up sacred geometry. That is a huge aspect of what he discusses, goes over, teaches, all that. Sacred geometry, what this 3D reality or this 3D experience that we call reality is created of. These different, shapes, and you'll hear some of that on some of the clips that we've got, today. He'll go into that briefly. One other thing that I do want to mention, I first heard about Matias De Stefano back, I want to say it was 2019 was when I first watched Initiation. If you haven't seen Initiation, on the platform called Gaia, absolutely tune into this. This guy captivated me. I mean, like next level, like everything. I couldn't get enough of like his content. I wanted to hear more. And it's because where he's like teaching from and how he shares this information, you can tell it's genuine. You can tell it's truth. You can tell just like you just mentioned, like he's like, oh yeah, I was there, but the pyramids were already there. Like the stuff he says is so legit. And I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Yeah, the best way to do it is, and I do this whenever I pick up a book or read something or that I find interested in, and it's usually something that I haven't heard before. I always begin with this aspect of, it's kind of like a touch of both, but skepticism and complete openness, all right? So when I go in there, when I'm in that open state, I'm letting information in, and then I run it through my skeptic mind or whatever. But when you listen to him, I've listened to over and over, I don't see any, there's a lot of truths here because I've read other works throughout time, like one of them is The Kabbalion. It's a book on hermetics. Now, he could have very well read those things and uniformed, but he talks about slightly different. But these principles and the sacred geometry is all entwined into these type of things. And then you hear different multitudes of perspectives and analogies laying out through time. So when you hear this, all of a sudden it resonates with your body, and that's where we find truth, if you could put it aside. Because, hey, the more we live life and the more experience we have, when we listen to stuff, you can tell if something's bullshit or real.
Yep.
All right? So just give it, go in, listen to this guy with an open mind, and then you take away what you need to take away. Because a lot of the information he has, and he has a ton of information, it might not pertain to you, but that little, like if he has, I don't know how many episodes he has on the first season.
On the first one, probably like 12, 13 episodes.
All right, so
but he's got 4 seasons on
Say
Gaia
there's
right
12
now.
or 13 seasons or whatever, episodes. You might only be gravitated at this moment in your life to one of them, and that's all you need at this moment in time, because he's divulging a lot of information, and not every bit of information is needed at this moment in time. And we'll talk about how to tap into that through the understanding of the 7 laws and even the dimensions as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so. I say we just jump straight. We've got a bunch of good clips from Matias De Stefano, so let's jump into it.
The 7th dimension was born from the 6th dimension and all the others that creates this shape of the octahedron. This core of the 1st dimension, creating the duality in the 2nd dimension, creating the 4th dimension, and in between the 3rd dimension, creates after that the 5th dimension above to see the whole process, and then below the 6th dimension to transform and to be an alchemist, a creator of your own reality. The 7th dimension will go to the core of reality in the center of the universe. So that's why the seventh dimension is called the dimension of enlightenment. It's the dimension where everything is kind of so well and so fine that we used to call it heaven. For many people that is religious, when they talk about heaven, we are talking about the seventh dimension. It is the place, the moment of the universe where you can feel everything, when you can see everything, and you have so much light and so much clarify of yourself that you can see everything, and you are not in the need of creating anything else. You just have realized that you are. The people and beings that lives in the seventh dimension, they are so coherent in the seven laws of the universe as one that they just dream about realities. They are just like kids, smiling and laughing the whole time, like someone that has accomplished everything and accomplished harmony.
All right.
So I chose that clip specifically because he references heaven, and we live in this world where we're taught, or at least I was, when I was first born, I was told this story about heaven and hell. I come from a religious background, a Christian Catholic background, and we're taught that God is outside of us, that there's these places called heaven and hell, and you don't want to do bad because then you're going to rot and burn in hell. And that's the story I live by, the majority of my life. I love how Matias touches on this and explains like these different dimensions that we can all experience. Well, that this version, this seventh dimension, is what has often been labeled as heaven. Heaven can be experienced on earth, and that's what he's talking about. Specifically when he's saying, hey, look, here are the seven laws of the universe. Here are the different dimensions. This is how they work. This universe is based off of frequency, vibration, and energy. And when you can align in these dimensions, you can experience them all. And I thought that was, super unique.
Yeah, and also too, because I think a lot of people misunderstand so the understanding of 1 through 9 dimensions. So there's 9 dimensions, and we live and experience in the third dimension, but the other 8 dimensions aren't separate from us. They're connected. And the analogy I use is if you're driving in a car, and say the inside of the car is the third dimension. So you're experiencing the seat, the comfort of it, the smooth ride, you're experiencing the steering wheel, all the stuff, the dashboard and everything else. But your car also has tires, shocks, it has an engine. You're not really directly experiencing that, but you're tied to it, you're attached to it. So when I hit the gas pedal, the engine, the RPMs go up, the pistons move quicker, unless you have a Tesla. There's no pistons in that, but it generates the speed to go fast or slow, however you want to look at it. So I'm experiencing all that stuff, but I'm experiencing it from the cockpit of the vehicle, to the driver's seat of the vehicle. So in the third dimension, we're experiencing it in the physical realm at three points of view in the third dimension. That's what it is. It's one of height, length, and width. All right, but yet I can tap into all the other dimensions, and so the seventh dimension that's why they call it seventh heaven. Yeah. So it is the point of view of heaven, but yet I want to take that heaven back. So like when I'm driving my car and I love my engine, but I'm not in the hood of my car. I'm experiencing it, but I'm experiencing from the driver's seat. And that's kind of the analogy. So a lot of people are trying to get to other dimensions. I'm like, there's no dimension to get to. You're tapping into those dimensions.
That's a great point, Frank.
Yeah.
I actually have a clip that would go perfect with that. All so right. Let's follow it up with that clip.
The first thing as a concept that we have to understand about dimension is that dimension means two measures. That's the word dimensions. D from Latin, two, and mention, which is measure. So this means two ways of measure one thing, 2 points of view, different perspectives of only one thing, meaning that every dimension is not separate from the other, but is a different measurement of only one thing. We usually say this is the third dimension, and there is a fourth dimension, and there is a fifth dimension. So we have to leave the third dimension in order to leave the fourth or the fifth. But it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. We have different points of view of only one thing. We are staring at different skies. Some of the stars that we see in the south are not the same stars that you see in the north. The third dimension is not a different thing from the other dimensions. The third dimension is basically a dimension where everything has 3 points of view, because we have high, depth, and wide. That's 3. And high, wide, and deep are called like this in space. And in time, we call it past, present, and future. So only in the third dimension exists the concept of past, present, and future, because we are 3. We have 3 points of view. But when you add a fourth vision of that, you have eternity, because there is a fourth line that connects past, present, and future. That's the fourth dimension. It's very difficult to understand the fourth dimension from the third dimension. The only way is a dream. When you dream, things happen without time, without space. Sometimes you just turn around and you are in a different country, in a different place, and in a different time, with a different body. So the fourth dimension is like that all the time. So when you dream, you are living the fourth dimension. Usually people wants to go, I don't know why, everyone wants to go to the fifth one. But the fifth dimension is the expansion of light or awareness of the third and the fourth. So you cannot be in the fifth dimension if you don't enjoy the other two. It's impossible, because the fifth dimension is the awareness of every vibration and light of your molecules in this body. So if you don't feel your body completely aware, you will not feel the awareness of the fifth dimension. That's why enlightenment is not going to the sky, is to shine. To go to the fifth dimension, you have to shine from the third and to understand every possibility that you have in the fourth. Third dimension is this, as I said, past, present, and future. So when you are in the fourth dimension, you are not anymore your body here and now. You are the first cell, you are a reptile from millions of years ago, you were a fish. The thing is that you were many things, and your water was in many trees through thousands of years, were in rivers, in the ocean, and then they end up being your blood, every drop of water. So you were so many things that in the fourth dimension, you can access to the data that your cells had about all that. All your evolution through millions of years is encoded there in this body. So in the fourth dimension, you can feel it. You can be that. What happened in the fifth dimension is when you locate yourself in the core of all that, see around and say, oh, this is all me. I can feel, be, and become aware of all that. And it's not about leaving this world. It's not about ascending. It's not about living this matrix. It's about becoming the matrix.
I like that.
Me too.
Yeah, it resonates.
Well, it details kind of this experience, the levels of the dimensions, and how this works. What I love is how he explains, okay, dimension, di means two. So we have 2 points of reference, and then he starts going into how this is experienced. Like without height, width, depth, we wouldn't have an experience that we have today.
In the three dimension,
we take this for granted. We think that this is real. Height, width, depth is real, and this is the only thing we have. But what he's explaining is, that's a portion of this experience. And when you can kind of see how these dimensions work together, this is how you can have a whole experience. See, what I kind of believe is like Western culture, in my opinion, has kind of like robbed us of this whole body view. We were very much so taught that like everything that's outside of us is the only thing that's real. If it's not material, if it can't be touched, grabbed, dissected, broken down, then it's not real and it does not exist. And yes, we have like religion, like I've got friends that are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, whatever, but it's kind of like, oh, that's only on Sunday, and that's just what my culture is, or that's my family background. It's not like an individual, oh no, like it's part of my oneness. And so we kind of have this weird like lopsided experience, at least in the Western culture, where if it's not material, it's not real. And there's this whole other half side to this experience that you can't touch, that you can only experience and feel. And in my opinion, this is why we're all so tired, why we're all so jaded, burnt out, etc. Is we think we've experienced it all. We think we know everything because, oh yeah, I've been there, I've done that, type of attitude. When in true reality, there is an infinite number of experiences, and we just haven't taken the time to understand or to learn how this instrument that we were given works.
Yeah, well, I think part of why we came here, too, and that's why we came into the understanding of being short-sightedness, was we came in here and we played the game of hide and seek. Yeah. So we came here without the memory of it to actually remember. Even Matias, has memories of certain things, but he doesn't have memories of everything. So he still gets tired in this plane. Yep. Like you see him doing his talks, and he's like, okay, it's day 72, and I'm exhausted. So he still has to... and because if we remembered everything, we wouldn't have an experience either. We just watch an old movie that we keep watching. There'd be no fun in it. So the memory or remember is what we came here to do. And member means parts of the whole, right? So it's members, like my left and right arm are parts. If I cut them up or break them apart, they don't work well. But if I put them together, member. So as we start to wake up, if you look at the Western culture and the Eastern culture, they're two parts of a member. So, there are aspects where if you go too far into the spirit world, you don't hang out in the physical world. There are a lot of people in those areas that are trying to get away from the third dimensional world. I'm like, you asked to come here.
Correct.
So once we marry the two together, it's like peanut butter and jelly. It's like, damn, this is good. Peanut butter by itself is okay. Jelly by itself is okay, but when you smear them together, and that's what we are right now, understanding these dimensions and tapping into them. We came here to live in the third dimension. It's the playground.
It is.
But once I tap into and have access to the other 8 dimensions, it allows me understanding the first dimension is pretty much understanding that it's a singularity to where everything came from. Then the duality in it. We have a duality. And in the third dimension, we're witnessing the duality. That's why we're here. We have the ability to look at it like, okay, do I go left or do I go right? But if you were in duality, you wouldn't know to go any other direction than what is. And then in the fourth dimension, as you mentioned, is like that dream state where time doesn't exist. Everything past, present, and future is now. And that's why dreams are very weird when you bring them back into the third dimension. You're trying to figure it out. I'm like, yeah. It's just everything happened. I was, I have a lot of dreams. I don't know about you. Oh yeah, vivid. I just about every day, and I don't really talk about them because I understand them now. But like in one moment, I'll be like, in another country, walking around. The next thing you know, I'm in like the basement of my house. It was a child, but I'm not a child. I'm my age now, so I'm jumping to these different times in what we consider time. In the third dimensional world, but there time didn't exist. And then even think about that. When you wake up and had the dream, it felt like it was hours, but yet it could have been seconds.
And that's how people who have had near-death experiences describe dying in this life, where it's, it wasn't, I died, etc. No, it was a new experience.
And
it's like waking up, and from a dream and being like, wow. And so I think that's important because a lot of us we were, at least I was like really afraid of death, and like, oh my God, this is all I am, etc. And certain religions amplify that, and they want you to think this is that one life you have, and you better not, ruin it, or you're going to hell, all this type of stuff.
Well, yeah, because like they would say, okay, if you do this, and this, you do this all right, you'll get to heaven.
Conditions.
And
we all
understand
and know Jesus, God, whatever you want to call that experience was unconditional.
Because I don't know about any religion that doesn't say you're not going to die.
Yeah, well, totally.
But before you die, you must walk this straight line, but you start walking that straight line, and unless it's your line, you find some weird thing about it, and it's just a misinterpretation in the way you should interpret it. And that's what I think is, once you understand these different dimensions, and one of the dimensions too I like to hang out in is the 8th dimension. in the physical world. And that's where, like I was telling Mike earlier, the eighth dimension is where every episode of Perspective Shift is the ones we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And even the ones that are recorded, but for the infinite amount of episodes, infinite amount of, workouts I'm going to do, the infinite amount of writing I'm going to do, the infinite amount of, like, anything I'm going to do is already sitting there in the eighth dimension. Another term for it is Akashic Records, or library of the world or the universe. It's sitting in there. So when you could tap into that, once you learn how to tap into the eighth dimension, you'll never ask for advice again, because asking for advice is eating somebody else's meal or taking somebody else's idea, and it's not yours, and that's why it messes up. So most people saying do this, this, and this, such as what religion has done. If you do this, this, and this, you follow these sacraments, it should work out. And like, well, why isn't it working out for me? And the only answer they have is because you're doing it wrong and you're not pure. Now, there's some half-truth there, but the purity isn't this, this, and this. The purity is if you go into that eighth dimension, you'll know what roadmap to get to get where you want to go. Like I always said, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, everyone can get to San Diego. But I can only get to San Diego with my map because where I particularly live. Like Mike lives probably 9 miles off in a different direction. My map would not work for him, even though we live in the same city. General area. Mm-hmm. So everyone has their own map, and where is the map? It's red here in the third dimension, but it's access to the eighth dimension, and that will get you to the unknown place in which you want to go. Because if you've been there, you don't really need the map. And most people are just kicking around in the third dimension and never accessing the eighth dimension, or they don't know they are, or they don't know how to. And every once in a while it peers in. It's like, oh, I have a good idea to do that. Let me ask my friend if it's a good idea. And your friend's like, I wouldn't do that if I was you.
You nailed it, though.
The market's not doing good right now. And all of a sudden, it's like, shit. And then you miss out. And you realize the stock you were going to buy just freaking skyrocketed.
That's totally how it works.
I'm just using this as a playful way of doing it because it's not about tapping into the stock market or whatever. It's about following your path. We all came here with a frequency individually, just like my frequency resonance is different than Mike's, just like my fingerprints are. Mm-hmm. And if I tap into that and I get into that state, all of a sudden I can align within all these separate, dimensions. And like I said, these dimensions aren't separate from me. They're just different aspects of who I am, but I'm experiencing it all here in the third dimension.
Well, like you just brought up fingerprints, right? We all know we all have different, unique set of fingerprints that identifies us, okay? Well, we were taught that we live in a material world, that this organism, this body, this is everything. I'm separate from this world. Well, what science, neuroscience, epigenetics, a physical, even a quantum mechanics, what they've all discovered is as we begin to break down this material separate self that we think we are, and we get deeper and deeper and deeper under that microscope to see what's going on. What's actually there is, like Frank just said, a energy frequency.
It's a wave.
Yeah, a frequency, and that's what we are. We've been taught that we're this physical body in this physical world, but as we begin to measure and go deeper and deeper, we've discovered, no, we is simply an energy frequency. We are, each of us carries our own specific frequency, and that's how this material structure was created.
Yeah.
And that's what these different dimensions are talking about. So what's the point of knowing about these different dimensions? Well, when you understand how these dimensions work and how you can interact with this experience, this allows you to take your power back and begin to become a creator. You can actually begin to create and experience a life that you would like to, rather than you're feeling like the world is happening to you and things are going on. You begin to happen to the world, if you will.
Well, the world's happening for you.
Correct. Yeah. Your intent that you're putting out. Now the body's flowing. Now we're working with this third dimensional reality, that we call real or reality. We're working with it. We're actually participating in it. This is very much so a participatory reality, even though we were taught growing up that, just outside of you, the world's happening and it's always going to be happening, and
that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Like you can go out and things are just going to happen. No, that's incorrect. And science has proven this. The world isn't just happening without us participating in it. We are very much so, each of us participating and creating this full conscious experience that we call reality.
Yeah, so the output I put into my thoughts and actions will get a direct result back from what I think. And, that's how you kind of loosen up on the victimization of life. Again, what a real victim is not knowing, and we're all victims because we don't know everything. So it's not about harboring over that. So when I ask a question, when something happened, I'm like, well, how were you thinking? I'm like, and I ask myself the question, when I end up in a situation that's clearly non-preferential, it's clearly not working is really what it is, because the physics of the world will show you how things work. You go against it, they don't work. So it's not like just trying to, okay, now I want to swim upstream. I'm like, no, you're not going to get up there. The stream is going to be too strong for you. So it's learning to, how do I flow with the energy field that's already here? How do I work within it? And we'll soon find that out. But if you misunderstand it, you think the goal is to swim upstream, but you realize you get nowhere. And progress is what we call, is the understanding of what we call success in the three-dimensional experience. That is part and parcel of what it is. So everyone will come in to know this. But as we start to explore it, realize there are principles and laws, and if we follow them in the initiative in which I feel I should follow, all of a sudden you start to see things work out. And it's pretty amazing. So these principles are here to help guide us. These other dimensions that help guide us in this. It's like, what's that that TV show where people when they couldn't, they were asked a question, they couldn't come up with.
Phone a millionaire. How
was that? It and had like
they get three options, like phone a friend.
Yeah, phone a friend. So it's
I think look it's at the I want to be a millionaire or something.
Yeah, something like,
or how I become a millionaire.
Yeah.
How do you become a millionaire?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yet, like if someone's asked a question you didn't know it, you had like one shot to call somebody, and you could choose to do that. Well, in this world, we have a multitude of times to make that call and enter into different dimensions. So when you're stuck in something, when you get into a nice state, like nice relaxed state, you start to open up these channels, and some will call them spirits, right? Like the seventh dimension might like have a spirit come through, or the fifth dimension will have a spirit come through to actually help guide you through where you need to go. And you tap in, you're making that phone call, and it will show you how to get there. Because sometimes we get stuck because we get so focused on what's happening, we start to like, okay, I know what's happening. I'm like, yeah, once I say I know what's happening, it's when I get lost.
Yeah.
But what I know is I like this experience, and that keeps my channels open for everything to come through. And guess, all day long my channels are shutting down. But now I'm in a point in my life where I know how to open those channels up whenever. And I open up when I close them down. I recognize when I'm closing them down. I kind of laugh. I always make a joke of it. But the more I stay in tune with that, the quicker it is I understand when I shut those channels down. I'm all of a sudden like, okay, I'm tired. I'm like, am I really tired, or am I just excessively thinking how to get through this? Where I could just open my channel to the eighth dimension, and it will actually dictate, and I'll just listen to it, just like my GPS. Like if I have the GPS, it says make a right, I make a right. There's no exhaustion. There's no effort there. And then go 500 yards, make a left. I do that. But if I turn it off, I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out where to go. It's like, okay, I can't look up. The stars aren't out, so I don't know what direction I'm going in. And there's clouds are up, so where the hell's the sun? Am I heading west? Am I heading east? Oh, my God. And that thought pattern is what exhausts us. But if I keep it open and I just listen to my GPS, I move through it. But the GPS only gives me increments of information. It still wants me to experience the drive. It isn't talking to me every moment of day. That would be aggravating. That's like a serial killer's mind.
Well, as you're talking about these different dimensions and being able to access that higher self, I think it's important for us to point out that how do we do that? Well, we do that by getting out of the thinking analytical mind. And that's important. That's like a major first step, is being able to become aware of the head chatter, aware of your self-talk, aware of what's going on in this system, because the majority of us live our lives identifying with our thoughts, thinking we are our thoughts, and that is this only experience. And that is this third-dimensional little rat race that we get stuck in, is we're afraid that if we let go of thinking, that everything won't get done. We're going to forget about something important. A bill's not going to get paid. Whatever. We're like, we think our life's going to crumble as soon as we I struggled with this. I remember when I was learning this, like, I was like, how do I just like let go? And when I did start to truly let go, everything took care of itself. And this is like what Jesus was talking about. This is what all these like
masters,
like all of these masters were talking about, is when you let go, you're allowing the world to function. Who are we to think that we are so like important, or so that, I don't know how to phrase this. I guess like what I'm trying to say is like, it is so ridiculous to think that the world won't function how it should without us thinking about it. Like, who are we to think that?
Yeah, and a lot of what Matias is talking about is the components of how things work in order to work it. So if I'm doing 100 miles an hour in the car, it's the car's force that's doing it. I'm not the one doing it. I'm controlling it. So once we start to understand the components in which we attach to, like, if you look at the 7 principles of the universe in which we live here, it could be tied into our 7 chakras. All right. So mentalism being the first one, correspondence, that's the third eye. Mentalism would obviously be the top, the crown chakra, and that would be the first one of mentalism. The universe in which we live in is mental,
correct,
and how we think. And then correspondence are things corresponding along with my vision. That lets you know if it's working or not. That's the third eye. It's how you tap into that. The other one is vibration. Vibration as our voice. Is my voice in line with my correspondence and my mentalism? If it is, it's going to sound beautifully. It's going to resonate, and that's where the idea of resonance comes from. And then rhythm is the heart. So if the heart, the voice, the correspondence, and the mentalism are all in line, all of a sudden the heart of the rhythm is beautiful. And then they get into the you get into the cause and effect, then polarity, and then generation. Now, when all these 7 chakras, when all these 7 principles are in line, the mechanism works brilliantly. We can step out of the way and we just experience it. Okay, I want to go to left. Well, just turn the steering wheel left. You don't have to move the 100-mile-an-hour car. You're just directing it. But if all the chakras in our systems, that's what we have, or energy centers, however you want to label them, aren't working properly, it's like having a flat tire. Well, you got to pull it down, you got to change the tire, you have to get these lined up. So part of the understanding these 7 systems, 7 principles, once you get those lined up, life in the 3-dimensional world becomes easy and easier. And then like, okay, now what can I do? If the car's running brilliantly, now the question is, where can I go with the car?
Let's touch on that too, because that's where a lot of us get stuck, is we keep saying, I want this car to drive right. I want this experience. But the energy centers, energy's trapped, if your life is not flowing how you would like it to flow, it means we need to start within. It doesn't mean, I need to go out and just work harder. That's this weird, world we've been taught, which is get out there and struggle, strive, and, no, we need to go within, and we need to begin to become whole. And so how do we do that? We start analyzing, okay, what stories, what narratives am I carrying around that are stopping me from believing in myself, believing the level of power that I have, or that I'm limitless. Like, where does that come from? And this comes from a lot of self-doubt, a lot of old narratives, a lot of stories, a lot of trauma from when we were younger, all these types of things. So we need to kind of start there and begin to kind of heal that within us in order to have this flowing experience. We all want to have this great experience, this great life, but we're not doing the work, the inner work that is necessary in order to allow the machine to begin to function appropriately for us to experience this life that we all say we want.
Yeah. And that's like, how do you get there? So a lot of times you want to go into this complete neutrality place, and that is like what we call the ninth dimension. It's the dimension of void. Yeah. And so that would be the dimension they call God. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, well, here's just a simple analogy. Would I be able to see a tree if there was an infinite space around the tree? Well, the space is what God holds for the tree to be seen. All right, the tree is an element of, from the earth. But if there was no space, if there was nothing to contain it, what would be seen? So that neutrality, once you get to neutrality, then you can line it up. It's almost like with the car. If the car isn't working properly, bring it to the shop and put it in a lift. Bring its neutrality. Then, okay, this is what's going on. So once we start to go through these different centers in our body, are they aligned? And if they're not, just giving slight attention either to neutrality, all seven at once, just quiet your mind, don't think about it, or just directing your attention to one of them that you feel is out of whack. And when you do that, wherever your attention goes, there goes your energy. And if your attention's like okay, there's a blockage in my heart, and I just close my eyes and I settle down and I think, okay, how is my heart beating? How do I want it to beat? And just feel that. All of a sudden you start aligning, because we don't do it. It naturally takes care of ourselves. But my thoughts, the negative thoughts, are creating patterns, blocking the energy field from moving rightly so through my body. So I want to get out of the way of my mind, the thinking mind, and allow these energy centers. It's a lot easier than we think. It's like plugging something in and pushing a couple of buttons, and all of a sudden the computer aligns all the components in your car to work properly. It's not as difficult as we think. And that's kind of the vantage point we have from that void space.
One of the things too, like doctors, medical doctors will talk about this thing called homeostasis, and it's like your body in a natural resting state, like cohesive resting state where everything's working like it should. None of us are actually ever in homeostasis because of stress, illness, all these outside factors that we're saying are outside of us. And this creates, this develops into illness. This develops into sickness, etc. Like if you don't have a homeostasis, this is how your body breaks down. This is how your body gets sick, etc. And so these concepts that Frank and I are talking about, this mind, body, soul, this, experience, what you're doing is you are getting back to that true homeostasis, that true natural state, which is, wholeness. It is not stress. As much as we were, came into this kind of, at least in the Western world, we came into this very created reality where you're this gender, you're this religion, you're this culture, and this is likely what your job and, title will be when you get older. No. Those are all things that were given us outside of us, that we were told that we are. Homeostasis is realizing that you are whole and always have been whole, and you begin to remember the creator that you always have been. And this is our most natural state. It's realizing that all those things outside of you that we've been told, this is the only way to do it, this is how you accomplish it, that's one way of accomplishing it. That's one way of completing it. In reality, there's infinite ways for you to obtain and experience all that you wish.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And it, like when you take into some things, like when it comes to generation or the gender we chose to come here with that gender.
100%.
How we express it, that's up to us. Mm-hmm. Everything else that we came in, we were told this is how it is. But I believe it's part of the game. Like I've said this before. Someone tells me this. If everyone spoke what we consider to be the truth, would I even know what the truth is? So this is where we get into the fifth dimension, where there is what we consider good and evil, or like in the West or East. In the fifth dimension, they're equal. Whether a human or a tree, and I don't mean to get really weird about this, but it's the real arbitrary place. And then from that place, then I can choose what is preferential to me in the output in which I want to continue. So I'm able to look at everything as one whole organism. But then when I come back into three-dimensional world, I understand what organism I am and act in that direction in which is preferential to me.
Nice. I say we jump into this next video. This one kind of, ties into what we were just sharing about.
What is the difference of purposefully manifesting versus letting the Creator guide you? How can we connect more with the spirit or higher selves? Okay, to finish today, the difference between the manifestation and letting us be guided by the Creator. So, first of all, we have to recognize this, that we are, everything that exists is just the projection of one only mind, idea, being, self, whatever you want to call it, God, spirit, it doesn't matter. It has many names, but it's the singularity of reality. It's just one spot, one point, one reality. So this is the only thing that creates everything around. But everything around is not something outside that. It's a projection of that. What does it mean? That everything in the creation is also the Creator, but in different shapes, in different ways, in different aspects. Maybe more divided, of course. We are very split in the universe, but we are the Creator. It's not someone that is outside and guiding us because we are in the limits of creation. No, we are part of it. It's not something different. We are projections and reflections of the only truth. So, having that information, we have to realize that to manifest a reality, we all can manifest realities, but we cannot manifest a reality if we are very divided or in incoherence. If we are not coherent, as I spoke before, if we don't have balance between the body, the soul, and the spirit, so manifestation won't be according to the higher self, it would be according to our needs. And when you manifest stuff according to your needs, it's your needs that manifest, it's not you. So that is a condition. You are not manifesting anything. You are just creating the needs for yourself right now. So sometimes we think that we're manifesting stuff or trying to create stuff, but we have no idea that when that comes, it's according to what we really need. So if we are not coherent with the self, everything that we are going to manifest outside will be according to our needs inside. And sometimes the needs that we have within are not exactly the same that we expect. We may in our heads have an idea of what we want to manifest in our lives for living better, for whatever, but maybe our heart, our soul, our emotions, and our body needs a totally different thing. So when you receive that thing that you have manifested, it's according to the needs that you have within, and maybe you won't be able to handle it because you are not in balance. So that's why we usually don't manifest. We usually project.
That's all right. So that's the very definition of surrender. All right, and this is what he means by this. When we surrender, our natural component of our body gets into this frequency, and then, like the universe, the three-dimensional world will show you the representation of this is what it looks like to be your resonance. And it's always like Christmas morning. It always is. So people were trying to do something, trying to get here. I'm like, you're interfering with the components of your system, and that's where the agitation, the frustration, anxiety come from. You tire out. But when you truly surrender, all of a sudden your instrument plays beautifully, and then the three-dimensional world shows you what it sounds like, what it tastes like, what it looks like, what it hears like, what it feels like. And then you're like, wow, this is why I came here. And then that's kind of it. So this understanding is the understanding of surrender, not giving in, not surrendering, or in the understanding of like meek aspects of it. It means truly surrender to the instrument and the frequency, who you are, and watch it unfold like Christmas morning.
I love that. So a lot of us will, say to ourselves, of course I don't want to experience this. Why is this happening to me? They'll say, I'm working on this. And then just another shitstorm after shitstorm keeps coming at me, and of course I don't want this. Well, Matias kind of just touches on that here as well. And what he's saying when he's saying the world shows us our needs. So if we have a need that we need to overcome, like a karma, people often call this, it's an experience we will continue to see come up in our life until we work through it, until we experience it, until we overcome it. And so a lot of these experiences that we have been mislabeling as, I don't want that. Well, you need that in order to get to where you want, because you need to first overcome whatever that experience you're having in order to get to where your ideal state is, or where you're putting I want to experience this. Well, great. In order for you to experience that, you need to experience this. So we often misjudge the situation and say, this shouldn't happen. I thought this was going to happen this way. This isn't how I pictured it in my head, so it's not good. You need to let go of all that and surrender to all that, because without those steps, you can't get to where you're asking to go. You can't get to where you want to be. And this is where a lot of us get, really hung up, is they say, no, it was supposed to go like this, 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 and this. No, it doesn't work that way. We say what we want to experience. We're driving that. We have no idea what's going to come up during that, and it's how we work through that. It's how we experience that. That those are all necessary parts of the story to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, and that's why I got married, so Karen could tell me what to do. It makes my life so easy.
Karen's gonna beat your ass after only a month of marriage.
But yeah, and yeah.
But truly, this is like this experience where we say, I can't tell you how many times, like, family, friends, people, I just don't know why this happened to me. It's not our job to know why. It's just...
But why is it bad?
We need to see what came up, what do we learn from, what do we grow from, and that's what we need to clear in order to take that lesson or that set of values or knowing to that next level, to elevate.
And part of the clearing is understanding all is good. We understand the fifth dimension, as Matias talks about. If you can get to the understanding of third dimension, you'll live a brilliant life. And what I mean is, the reason we have a problem is we identify, if the sun comes up, life is great. If there's clouds, it's going to be a hell of a day. And why is that? Like, how do we come up with this identification?
Conditioning, movies.
Yeah, but, well, like we chose one side over the other, and we live in a duality world. If you choose one side over the other, 50% of your life, it's going to be miserable. It might not be 50% all like every other day. It might go good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad, and then bad, 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 But if it's all good, you'll see the growth in it, because in physics, right, everyone wants to get to the trough. All right, but the crest, they want to get to the crest, but the trough is what allows the physics to get up. So you have to take it all in. Like, if you don't go down, the downward movement is the acceleration up. So you can't divide the two in what we call the wave. the wave is actually creating the movement for me to go up. So if like running, like if I want to run in advance, I have to step down, step up, step down. So the stepping down is just as equal as a stepping up and moving forward in the advancement. So if I didn't step down and then step up with the other foot, there would be no movement. So how did we come to a point where we separated these two things? And this is where the dark and the light comes in. But hey, if there's too much light, you're blinded. If it's too much dark, you can't see. It's the amount of, like we become the aperture. I'm like, you realize you need a mixture of light and darkness depending on what you're doing, right? If I'm going at sleep, I want, there's no such thing as absolutely dark, but I want it pretty dark. If I'm reading a book, I don't need it bright like I'm standing out at the beach. Then I have to put an umbrella on. That's a pain in the ass. I can never read at the beach. I can't. Like, you got your sunglasses on, this freaking sunblock on, it's all smeary, and I'm trying to look at this, and it's just a pain in the ass. But, yeah, so I sit on my couch and read my books there, because at the beach, I just pretend to read. I'm actually looking at all the women in bikinis. Now that I'm married, I don't do that
anymore. Exactly.
Yeah,
there you go.
not allowed to.
There you go. I think it's funny, like how we. I don't know. I always think about like why do we feel this? Why does this, like, why do we analyze and determine and experience the life the way we do? And what I always keep going back to is the way we were schooled and the way we were taught information. We were never taught, how do you feel? What are you thinking? We were never asked questions. We were told answers and told that this is the way from a very young age. I'm talking as far back as you can remember. You know, your parents taught you how to act. What are they doing? They're training you how to play, how to interact in this world, in this reality. And so we are constantly trained since we are young how to act, how to be, how to think, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. And so as we start to develop into our true selves, we don't ever feel like we can ask ourselves a question and know the answer or remember the answer, where we believe we must go outside of us to find that answer. We must find it in a guru. We must find it in a mentor. We must find it in a teacher. We must find it in something, in a book. When all of that information all lies within us. It all lies within us, but we don't allow ourselves to get quiet enough for this information to surface. We don't get quiet enough for us to experience this information. And so when you can kind of look back on how that we got ourselves into this mess, it allows you to take your foot off the gas and go, wait a second. I don't need to, keep twisting myself into this crazy pretzel all the time, thinking that I'm not good enough. I don't know what's going on. I got to run around and find all these answers. When you allow yourself to really center, that water, that mud in the water begins to kind of clear, and it gets more and more settled, and you've got this like clear knowing. And I think that is part of accessing, these different dimensions.
Yeah, but what makes the clear knowing beautiful was the mud.
Yeah.
So what would a shower be if you never got dirty? So we live in a duality world. So trying to get rid of the duality. And again, like we were taught to like get information outside of us, but yet entwined into our customs here, we were taught these axioms: listen to your gut, listen to your heart. Mm-hmm. These are all inward things, but we didn't see too many people act on that, or we didn't hear the expression of it as much. Yes, when I went to church on Sundays, they touched on this, but I didn't really, no one really told me about the components of it. But then again, like me and Mike having the show called Perspective Shift came out of that mud. So I don't knock at all how I was raised. I don't knock at all what I forgot to remember, because this gives me something to talk about now.
Absolutely.
So it's part and parcel of the whole thing. And I believe more and more people on the planet are waking up. It's not, if you think you're the only one waking up,
you're not
really waking up. I think is an energy field coming on and waking up, and everyone wakes up differently. there isn't a greater way of waking up. And then someone like Matias, as he comes to this, planet, like, what was it, 35 years ago?
Yeah, he's 35.
He's expressing stuff. He's one person out of many people that are doing this. And then, me and Mike doing the show is just expressing it from a different vantage point, hence perspective shift, because that's all we're doing is it's different perspectives. There's infinite amount of perspectives. So what me and Mike are talking about here are relative perspectives to my life and then to his life, but they're considered to be half-truths, all right? So we try to encourage other people to open up, but what is your half-truth? But the empirical truth is your truth is just as true as mine. And often in the past, and you still see it now, you're starting to see it break up because it looks ridiculous, when people are arguing over their half-truths.
Well, that's the name of the game, though.
The best
we live
fruit
in.
is an orange. Everyone knows that.
Republicans are right. Democrats are wrong.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, what is a Republican? What is a Democrat? These are human beings, right? And no one just has. Everyone has a left and a right side of the brain. And guess what? If you just use the right side of the brain, you get nowhere. If you just use the left side of the brain, you get nowhere. So you have to use them in homeostasis. You have to use them equal. So one isn't better than the other. It's just we have to go back and forth. But we create these labels, and then the aspect of this is who I am. Now I'm obligated to hold my position. I'm like, that's what makes them angry is holding their position, right?
It's tiring, man.
Yeah, but if you just float with the waves in the ocean, it's the greatest thing. But if you hold your position, every other wave, that's because you got a crest and a trough. Well, as it rolls over you better be constantly holding your breath, and then you get a little dip, and then you hold your breath. But if you go with it, you never drowned. You just move with it, and you ride the wave like a surfer.
That's what we should all be doing is riding
well,
that wave.
Yeah, but I have to do it myself in order to help others, right? So that's become that change in which you want to see.
One thing that helped me really personally kind of get through this was, I forgot who, actually, I think it was David Icke. He was talking about Republicans and Democrats. He was talking about this whole way that we interpret information. And one of the things he said was really powerful. And it was like, he said, ask yourself when you're having these different experiences, ask yourself, like, do you believe that you yourself have the right to have an opinion? Well, yeah, of course I do. Absolutely, I'm the right to have an opinion. Okay, do you believe that anybody has the right to interfere with your opinion or to tell you what's how to feel? And it's like, no, of course not. Like, I shouldn't, nobody should be able to tell me how I'm supposed to feel, Then why do you believe you have that right? Why do you believe that you can say, no, Democrat or Republican, you're not looking at it the right way. Look at it from this way. What gives you that right?
Well, that's what we call the First Amendment. Now, somebody they have the right to argue back, but you have the right not to accept their argument. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like anyone, because every view there's a counter view. That's, when I was doing debate in school, I soon realized, because the teacher would always give us a point of view. Okay, I'm going to do this, and you study it, and you come up and debate, and then all of a sudden they do bait and switch on you. Okay, tomorrow you'll be doing the opposite point of view, and you're like, well, wait a minute. But all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get into this because it's about the game for me. All of a sudden, I get into the game, and then when I really think about it, I'm like, which one was right?
That's it.
Actually, they both were right. They both contain the information in it.
And that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
They're both right. They're both wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's wrong when you think they're both wrong, or one's right. Mm-hmm. But yet, everything, the two opinions or the two viewpoints support the structure of the physical world. It's like, if you look at the hub of a wheel, it's suspended. But what's holding it is the spokes. Well, one spoke's coming out this way and others coming out this way. I think I talked about this before, and I forgot how many spokes hold an actual bicycle wheel, but just say like 52. I'm going to pull that number out. All right? I'm going to probably be corrected, but you get the point. But each spoke, even though it's going off in a different direction, what it's doing is supporting the rim of the bike, which is then the physical world, and that's the part that hits the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But the hub is suspended. So when everything comes out from that, but can you imagine the spokes started arguing against their viewpoint? Like mine's coming away from you, yours should be going the other way. All of a sudden, if one hemisphere of the wheel fought against the other hemisphere of the wheel, and one beat the other one, all of a sudden the spokes from the southern hemisphere of the wheel would collapse. Well, the whole thing collapses because the hub can't be
supported.
Yeah. So when I came in here, my vibration, my frequency that I came in here is an opinion. It is a truth, but it's not the whole truth. It's a component of the truth. It's part of the truth. And this is where we come into the idea of remembering. We're remembering. So my truth and Mike's truth are two members of the same...
two spokes.
Yeah. Well, it's the hub.
Mm-hmm.
It's the singularity. All right? So I'm adding to the singularity. I'm adding into this duality world, into the physical world, to paint my picture onto the world. But mine and Mike's together and everyone, all 8 billion people on the planet, is what makes up life. But once you start to try to negate somebody else's, you don't even enjoy the canvas in which you're looking at. Right? Like, I love this painting, but I can't stand the color red. And there's like a little dash of red in the right corner. I'm like, right? It's like now you're stuck on something like, why don't you like red? I'm like, I just don't like red. You know, and so we got to get rid of the red. We got to call Michelangelo. Oh, shit, he's dead. Son of a bitch, we can't change his painting.
We're screwed.
How about we just get there and cut it out and do that?
We're screwed.
We're screwed. And just leave red alone. All right.
But
let
honestly,
it
a
go.
majority of us, a lot of us live in a type of world like that where, oh man, I'm gonna have to move out of Arizona or become in a blue state. Like people say stuff like this,
the reason,
and they really hold on to it. And this is something, guys, like see it for what it is, because this is how you get to that next point that you're looking to. You got to grow past these types of blinders, or it's like us setting the bar really low and saying, nope, you can't be happy. Why? Because Republicans or Democrats exist. We don't allow ourselves to enjoy things or experience things because we're constantly putting limits and conditions on what this experience is.
And we used to do that. We're actually walking out of that, because when people talk about Democrats, Republicans, everyone is like, I don't think there's any...
It can be anything. I just use that because a lot of people...
No, what I'm saying is
relate.
People are noticing the ridiculousness. And why did we do it in the past, and why are we breaking away from it now? Well, obviously the show would not exist if everyone thought like Republicans and Democrats. It wouldn't exist.
Yeah. No
one would tune into it. We're like, well, these guys are talking about different perspectives.
One's right, one has to be right.
But one of the reasons, and you could blame it on this, is we lived in more smaller tribal understandings. And once, like, I grew up in New York, right?
Really? You can't tell.
It's a big well, it's a big city, understanding from other cities. But what really blew my world away from information wasn't that I lived in a large city. It was the internet. I now live in the world. So this is why we're breaking down these like I could get different people's viewpoints that really, and I look at other people's viewpoints. They don't negate mine at all. They actually help expand mine. They make mine. So if I'm the red and there's only red in them, like, it makes mine stand out to me, but theirs stand out just as equal. Mm-hmm. It becomes this fascinated tapestry of life. So the internet and technology is what's allowing us to drop the smallness of idea, because in the past, when you lived in these little tribes, that's what kept you safe. But now it's like, wow, there's one big tribe. It's called the world. All right. And now we're heading into the universal tribe, right? Not other dimensions, but other experiences of different life forces out there in the world in which we look in, and we go out into the galaxies and stuff like that. So understand, if you want to move quickly through these other dimensions that we're tied into, you must enjoy every moment of this three-dimensional world, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, whether this, you stop being Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Stop looking for the perfect
advice.
bowl of porridge.
That's great
for the love
advice.
of God.
We're all looking for that perfect bowl of porridge, and we're getting screwed all over the place.
And then the bears come home and you're screwed.
That's a great analogy.
So just every bowl of porridge that's put in front of you, enjoy it. and then enjoy the next
and
one.
really enjoy it too.
Like
not the half in, half out, because I did that too. Like like dive in,
and then you'll see these open portals. They open for you, and when they open for you, it's like Christmas morning. It's like, holy cow. And all of a sudden you do it, and then you want more and more of it. So the three-dimensional world is a brilliant place. It's not a place that we have to harbor through and rigor through so we can get to the fourth and then to the fifth. It doesn't work that way. It's not like this staircase that we're moving up.
Some of the New Age shit, though, does kind of describe it that way. And I'm like,
get
guys,
out of third dimension.
no.
You're in the third dimension talking about these other dimensions. This is what the physical
There's nothing to escape from.
We
very much are on the right schedule. We came here for a reason. We're exactly where we should be.
We talked about this earlier. So the Matrix is where this whole platform has come from. The Matrix, as Matias states, means mother.
Yeah.
All right. So we come from the mother. Mm-hmm. So Matrix means mother, and it seems like we're trying to escape. I like his definition. He's like, yeah, we were in the mother's womb for 9 months. We're trying to escape the mother and head into the light where the father is. Right.
Where the father receives.
Yeah. Yep. And he mentions too. It's like from a psychological standpoint, the reason we're escaping the mother to go to the father. We look at the father as a son. Is because the mammals, that's how mammals grow. Because like trees and wild, like things that grow out of the ground, they're not in a womb.
They're their own, breaking from a seed, exactly. Their own stressors, etc.
So mammals will then place onto the world, this is how it must be. And that's why I always love watching like these shows on the wildlife and stuff like that. And they'll have some guy on there. It's like, he'll be like, it's like we're in Alaska in the dead of the winter. That polar bear, if it doesn't find food, is going to starve. And I'm like thinking to myself, I don't think the polar bear feels like it's in a playground. Like, like if a human being was there, hell yeah. I mean, because we have a different...
Literally, that's like the polar bear's environment.
Yeah, that's what they do.
It's going to starve.
It's their playground. It'd be like if like a polar bear is like, that kid, it's a 72-degree day out and he's in the sandbox. If he doesn't get out of there soon, he will dissipate into the world and he'll be nothing. Oh my God, he's heading to the swing. Like, what's going on? It's like, this is what we do.
That's the way we have to frame it for people to, get excited and get involved. That's just a way to pull you, these filmmakers' way to pull you in.
And if I could step into the fifth dimension and see I'm living as a human being in this physical world, this is the appropriate way of me thinking. But I also realize there's other things out there that let me take my life. I create enlightenment in my life. When I'm playing, I don't trivialize it. Mm-hmm. But I also know this is not all there is, so I don't hold on to it either. There's this nice soft flow to it. But now understanding how this works from that fifth dimensional place where everything exists as good lets me come back to the third dimension, or not come back, but still attach those other dimensions, but now it lets me have this experience as excitement. Just like on a roller coaster, they go up and they go down. And next thing I'm like, okay, let's find a roller coaster that's higher, right? And this is kind of what life is. It's about it's understanding the physics of it, not fighting against it. This is not how it's supposed to be. I'm like, we know very little to know how it's supposed to be. But we know very little.
That is the one line that is running through. And be honest with yourself at home. Like, how many of you have thought that this isn't how it was supposed to be?
Oh, I was thinking that this morning.
That's what I mean. This is so
when
common.
Karen made me take out the garbage. Like, this is not supposed to be.
Dude, we do that all day long.
I tried
when you become aware to that, it's great.
I tried pulling that on it because now we're in a day and age where the aspect of equality, men and women and stuff like that. Yeah.
Frank,
like, I tried it.
To your advantage.
Like, we're in a new day and age. It's like, why don't you get and change the, clean out the, I was going to say carburetor. I don't have a carburetor in my car. I was like,
I know what you were getting at.
Actually, she was doing this yesterday. It's like, my tires are low on air. I'm like, well, go get them, go get some air in them. She's like, this is why I got married. I'm like, why?
Karen, that's so funny. That's
I'm
so
like,
awesome.
what, am I just because I'm a guy?
I love that.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'll go get air in your tires. Just get in there and make me a pot pie.
Pop
yeah,
pie.
See how well that. I didn't even say that. This is what I was thinking because I know it doesn't go over well.
Yeah.
But it was funny because, it's what the concept of how we're supposed to act is shifting and changing now.
Exactly.
But again, like when Karen does this, we're joking. We play with this all day long because whoever's closest to the garbage takes it out. That's why I'm always position myself furthest from the garbage.
Frank, I have purposely always positioned very far from that garbage.
And
I love it.
Yeah, this is why the universe always screws at me. It thinks I could like take a shortcut, and it's like,
nice try.
It doesn't work that way.
Nice
so
try.
I end up taking the garbage out, making the pot pie, and putting air in the tires. All right, it's like that's what happens when you play this.
Doing it all.
When you mess with the universe.
That's seriously funny. That's awesome though. That's the experience, you know, and the way we classify in our heads, the way we're walking around narrating stuff, the way we see it, all of this plays into how we're experiencing it. Let's jump into the fourth video.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
I am the medicine, I am the protector, I am the light, I am the path, I am life, I am... Who said that?
Jesus.
He was trying to embody every one of the names of God. The universe is all about frequencies. Imagine that every reality and every being is like a radio station. You can tune yourself in the frequency that you want to hear. If you don't like some messages of someone that is constantly talking about bad things, you just change the radio, and that's it. But in order to do that, you have to tune yourself into a new frequency so you can hear new messages. The best preparation for everyone in order to become a process with anything in your life, to change your life into a much more aware consciousness or something. I always say that there are only three things from which we can start. There's one for the body, another for the soul, and the other one for the spirit. The first one, which is for the body, is to change the way you eat. It's the most easy and difficult thing at the same time. And it's not about changing the way you eat according to be more spiritual. It's not that. It's about acknowledging what your body is really asking for. It's not that being much more aware or spiritual, you have to be vegetarian or vegan. Do what your body is asking for. And if you are working for your awakening and awareness, your body will stop asking for meat and will start to ask for fruits, plants, seeds. Why? Because to become aware, you need light. And the best beings that can manifest light into matter are the plants. So if you are trying to make more clear your memory, to awaken and enlighten your DNA, so you need things that manifest light. So that would be the first one. The other one is breathing for the soul. All the hormones of the body are controlled by how you breathe, basically, and how your endocrine system works. So you need to oxygen your blood, everything. And the best way to do it is taking deep breath and not by the mouth. The mouth was meant to be for eating, not breathing. Breathing is only through the nose, in and out, and very deep from the lower part of the lungs. That would calm the hormones, that would calm the emotions, so organize the information of the soul. Soul for me is energy. Soul in Spanish is alma, which is anima, and it comes from the Latin animated, animal, so the things that move. So it's the energy that moves you. That's the soul. Pay attention to how you breathe to order your chakras, to order your energy, everything. And the third one, which is for the spiritual realm, the higher self, is to laugh more. Laughter is a key of high vibration. So when you laugh, the vibration goes higher. So anything that is down, you cannot feel it. So if you want to feel better in your life, you have to laugh more about the bad things and to be in a higher resonance all the time. So eat better, breathe better, and laugh more.
I like the way he states that.
Absolutely. That's a good breakdown.
I have the laughing down.
he does a great breakdown there. Yeah. You know?
And so these are three things.
Tangible ways
to just change your life quickly. And what I like to talk about with the food is, this is interesting because this is really how it is. People want to do on the outside world to change the inside world. It's not. So once we start changing on the inside world, you'll naturally start eating more vegetables because it comes from light. But right now, like, I'll still eat meat, not a lot. I cut back, but I'm not forcing becoming because I tried doing the vegan or plant-based, and it wasn't working for me. So obviously, to me, my experience right now, there's more density experiences I need to go through. That's how I look at it. I don't fight it, but I'm noticing I'm eating less. To me, it's a very slow transition. But if I just stopped eating meat and went into it, I'm trying to force the outside world into doing. I'm putting the cart in front of the horse. It never works. It never works. Some people are already built to where they come in just eating vegetables, right? And they aren't any more spiritual than me or Mike or anyone else. It's just that they're a different place. But when you say, okay, if you eat vegan or vegetarian, you're more spiritual. I'm like, no, it's
total bullshit.
It's like saying if you have a red card, it's more spiritual than the blue card.
Total
like, no.
bullshit. And whoever said that, they need to go back to the basics.
Well, it's the act in doing it. But I think because we're going to get to a point where people, we'll get to a point where we'll slowly stop eating meat. But then there's going to be a point where we'll slowly stop eating
food.
Period.
Exactly.
Food, period.
I was going to say.
So there's different levels. But right now I'm enjoying the density part of the life I'm living, but yet definitely more vegetables. But it's not because I read an article. It's not because I've read something. It's because I'm learning to listen to my body.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
And just the last 3 years, I have really experienced this, guys. I mean, I've, as far as eating foods, I've never been a vegetarian, I've never been a vegan, I've never been anything. I just kind of ate whatever, and, whatever food's around, I kind of just did, etc. But as you're on this quest, to remember who you are, to experience these different realities, to, experience these higher levels and higher dimensions that we're talking about, your body actually craves this other types of food. And I think I've talked about this in the past, but this last year, 2 years, I remember my body was craving this seafood and this fresh, it's like poke place.
I think that you talked out with Jeff last.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, never in my life have I ever, I've liked sushi, and sushi's been great, but the last year and a half, 2 years, my body's been craving this sushi, poke, whatever you call it, place, and it's just fresh vegetables, rice, and fish. And so I started listening, and I just kind of, and it was the weirdest thing how it happened, but I've never in my life eaten that. Also, more fruits, more vegetables, all that, great. But what I really like that Matias De Stefano touches on is he's like, guys, look, this whole vegan, vegetarian, you have to be that to be a spiritual person, it's completely false. And there's so many people out there, specifically, who aren't necessarily spiritually, motivated, but who are they just believe it's the right thing and that they're killing an animal. Well, a plant is also alive, just like an animal. So technically, if you're killing that head of lettuce, then, you can look at it that way. But at the end of the day, this...
Mike's got a campaign against lettuce. He's
fighting
for him. The damn lettuce.
Stop killing lettuce.
Cutting those heads off.
But,
beheading the lettuce.
Yeah, I'm serious, dude. But, at the end of the day, the idea that because it came from an animal, it couldn't be eaten. That's ridiculous.
An animal can run from you, but that head of lettuce can't. It's stuck there. That's like a lazy way of hunting.
That's it. That's why I hate it.
At least the animal has a shot.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going straight for that lettuce, and it can't even get away.
But
that's the story people tell themselves. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, animals this.
Yeah.
And I get that to a certain extent, but
no, but that goes into
and things should be handled humanely. And I'm not saying none of that matters. What I am saying though is you don't need to be your spirituality is not linked to if you're a vegetarian or if you're a vegan. That's a very big misconception.
If you we always you talked about about the radio station, constant frequency. When I was a kid, you had living in the town I lived in, you had
which is where.
America, Long Island. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I want people to know. Some people are going to be like, hell yeah.
Go America.
Well, you know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Relate to that.
Yeah, it was on the south shore of Long Island. And,
okay.
So about 30-something miles outside of Manhattan. So it was the best of both worlds. I lived right near the beach.
Hell yeah.
And but
normally
anyway,
people don't associate the beach with New York.
Yeah, well, Manhattan is an island.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
though?
I know. They
Like
don't.
I'm just saying, people
But
are kind of like,
well,
what?
there's really no beachfront on Manhattan Island. It's pretty, dead bodies in the harbor.
True New York.
Yeah.
True
That's
New
what
York.
I love about New York.
Just dead bodies.
But yeah, when you go out to Long Island, it's a lot different. But anyway, but yeah, so it's kind of like I forgot what point I was going to freaking make.
Oh, I think we were talking about like the vegetarian, and we were talking about see what I mean, and like how it's.
Yeah, so it's about the state so whatever state you're in, the cravings of what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like in other words, if you want to be a person that goes to the gym and eats healthy, you have to get into that state first. If you just force yourself to will to go to the gym and eat healthy, I give it a week and you're gonna be done. You're gonna be done. Now you could simultaneously use will to get into that state. We have that, but you have to learn to let go. Because I do see people at the gym all the time for years, and they struggle, and they're sitting and everyone, how's it going? Oh my God. I'm like, I got to do this. If I don't, whatever. I'm like, you got to do what? I'm like, we're at the playground, for the love of God. I don't say that to them because I know it would make them feel bad. So I try to twist it around. I'm like, what don't you like about it? I got to do this. I'm like, well, what do you like? What do you like doing here? I like to just do more of that and do less of that. Mm-hmm. Like, because they're in their mind, because the doctor said they had to do, 20 minutes of cardio and do this stuff. But what they don't like about it is, they think they don't want to do it, but what they don't like about it is not getting the result because they're not letting the mind move with it. They're not in the flow of it. It's like being tied to a tree as the river's raging. That hurts. You got to cut that cord and live. And once I cut the cord, all of a sudden the river is no longer raging because you're moving with it. Yeah. And that's what happens to people. They try to will doing this stuff. You can't. You could start out with will, but you got to eventually let go and see. And what it is, it's not that going to the gym is what's doing it. It's becoming one with the gym, one with hiking, one with yoga, one with work, one with the people you're with, one with your clients. That oneness is the brilliance of the flow. And all of a sudden, nothing tires you. Nothing tires you. If I become one with taking out the garbage, I don't get tired. I jump up and do it. I no longer position myself away from the garbage.
And this goes back to that story we always talk about, the chopping the wood, carrying the water.
Yeah. It's got to be done, but now I enjoy it. So when I learned to enjoy these tasks that once were laborious and like making the bed and Karen, it's funny.
I make my bed every morning.
Yeah. I know, but like if you go look at my bed,
yeah.
It looks like something out of Pottery Barn.
It's literally perfect.
It's 4 layers of pillows, right? So 4 layers of pillows, and then it's got the sheet that has to fold back twice.
Yeah.
And then it's got this comforter overlay. So you look at it, it looks like a catalog thing.
Yeah.
I spend less time sleeping than I actually do making the bed.
And putting the bed back together.
It takes me longer to make the bed than I actually get sleeping. But you know what? Now I enjoy it. I actually enjoy
it. Becomes a meditation.
I don't. Well, yeah, it is, and it's funny because like Karen will jump in the shower and I'll make the bed before she gets out, and I'll do it by myself because I always get points for that. She goes, "Oh my God, honey, you could have waited for me." I'm like, nope, I need the points, babe.
I'm gonna need that later.
I'm gonna do something stupid today, and I'm like, "You remember I made the bed by myself?"
Hell yeah, Frank. Don't you remember this morning?
Come on,
wasn't that awesome?
You got to give me a pass on this.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's totally how we think, though.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, you got to put stuff in the bank,
Yeah, exactly. But I like the analogy because that's it. If we allow ourselves to put a little space between it and no longer lug the story of around, oh God, this sucks. Oh, I hate this. Oh, I could be doing so much better with my time. Whatever task that is becomes so much easier to accomplish, and you begin to flow with it. And this is what Mr. Miyagi was teaching when he was doing wash on, wash off, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this is exactly what he's teaching. Yeah, wax on. Thank you. Wax on, wax off. This is what he was teaching, which is, hey, look, I don't care how laborious, how mind-numbing this is.
There's a skill.
When you take the mind-numbing out of it, when you take the shittiness out of it, all that you're left is just experience, and that's what you're one with. And it took me a while to really grasp that concept and learn that. But now, like, what used to be these like tasks that I hated, like taking out the trash, doing laundry, folding laundry, vacuuming, all of, whatever, picking up my dog shit in my backyard, all these things that I hated to do, I now do with like this sense of ease, because I no longer carry the story of, oh, this is annoying. Oh, I hate this. Oh, I could be doing something better with my time. That's what we hate. That's what we can't stand, is the story, and knowing that when you take that away, it's just you picking up dog shit.
Yeah, and it's,
it's
somewhat enjoyable.
Relaxing.
It's somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah, it's just.
Then you start thinking, I need to feed this dog less.
Yeah, I know. But like, it's you guys, you'll be surprised how many things you can do that with in your life.
Everything.
Like traffic.
Yeah.
Things at the office, all these different areas that you find yourself getting stressed. Your children, when they're screaming, whatever. These mind-numbing tasks that you have always hated, that all that is a story. It's a narrative in your head, and you have the ability to become aware of that narrative, and then from that you begin to I don't need to be upset about doing this. In fact, I can use this as a time to relax. And then it like takes the sting out of it, and then it no longer sucks. And then you realize, wow, I can do this with every one of these narratives I've been holding, or throughout my day. And then your day starts to flow better.
Yeah, it does. And it's a great point. Like, you look at the body, it has to be fed properly, and it's based on where you are. So the way you're eating will let you know where you are in the physical body, how it's vibrating. The other one, the soul, understanding that type of stuff with the breathing. So breathing is something we can control. This is why most people work out, go to the gym, they run. When you're running and doing that stuff, now we're becoming more aware of it. But when I run, I'm forced to breathe at a different rate than when I'm sitting on the couch. All right, so we run. But if you understand that, you sit on the couch, like me and Mike, before we do every podcast when we get together, we do these heavy breathing exercises, and then we go into like calm down to a 15-minute or 20-minute meditation after that. But breathing is part of the meditation. And it's a pretty rigorous thing. Like, we breathe in and out. We usually use like a Wim Hof type of breathing technique, where you breathe in and out 30 times, and then on the 30th time you breathe out and hold it. And we're up to about like 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been doing some long breath holds. Surprising breath holds.
So like a 3-minute breath hold at the end, and then when you breathe in, then you hold it, and then you hold it for 15 seconds. That's one cycle. We usually do about 4 rounds of that. Mm-hmm. You can go as many as you want. Like, it's about doing one more minute, one more second, one more anything. This is what I believe in. It gives you a new experience, because what happens, like, we do it, like, okay, me and Mike, we started out, we did 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like, now it became easier, so we got to take the 4 rounns. Now, like, we're up to like 3 minutes, but eventually we're going to have to go to 4-minute hold, right?
Yeah. We will.
Carol will. Carol go home from work one day, meaning we passed out.
Yeah.
Like,
both of us.
That was a podcast. Like, wait, what podcast? Yeah. Wait, you're passed out.
We just came to. What do you got? We're on 8-minute breath holds.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So
that could seriously happen.
Yeah, I think that why Wim Hof will stop you at the 4-minute, but then what he'll do is, instead of 4 rounds, you go 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds.
Because it is a push. Like, it is. It's hard to hold your breath for 3-4 minutes.
But it's not that hard as it was when we first
you start to realize you're not that story in your mind that's saying,
no.
Oh, you need to breathe. Oh, you need to do that. You can actually create some space from that too.
So the breath work expands the experience our soul has. And then, obviously, the spirit.
And it oxygenates.
Very spirit. Yeah, well, it does.
Your blood. You can feel your blood running.
Oh, yeah, you can stop.
You can feel your heart beating. Yeah. Like, all these things that we take for granted. Like, if you ask, like, right now, analyze as a listener, are you aware your heart's breathing or your heart's beating? No, you're not. Are you aware you're breathing? No, you're not. And it's because you're in high beta, okay? And
well,
you're
in
that. You can absolutely be aware and be in that and still in a high beta.
I'm just saying, like, it's thank God I don't have to be aware of my heart.
We take those for granted. Yeah. We take that, that, it's just working. But when you can really just focus on your breathing or your heart, man, that can bring you into this like meditative state, and it can bring you into like this, okay, I'm going to slow everything down. Well, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to focus on my breathing, something I control. And that helps you, go from a stress level 10 down to maybe a 4 or a 3, and then from there you can chill out a little more.
And that's another way to get all the 7 chakras in line. And we get all the 7 chakras in line from the 3 dimension. You can access these other dimensions. All right. And then we get into, the understanding too of looking at life from the spirit standpoint, laughter. You can almost find humor in everything.
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 Frank, you're awesome at that. You are the living embodiment of that, and and that's the truth, though. Like, it's like, why? There is nothing that should be painful or be be upsetting or any of that. Like, we should always have that life and that laughter and love.
Yeah, because what is laughter? Laughter is a perspective shift. Laughter is the quickest change of frequency known to humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every other frequency change is very gradual, which is nice. It's kind of nice to have that gradual. But when you laugh, you go from this to boom. You jump up high. And then you come down a little bit, but you come down at a different place than we hear. So enlightenment is part of laughter. That's where the spirit is from. Enlightenment's lighten up. Lighten up a little bit on the.
And where do we see that the most? With kids, guys. Think about this. Immediately when a kid falls over and hurt themselves, as soon as they laugh, everything's okay. You know what I mean?
I laugh when the kid falls.
Everything's okay.
Yeah.
And think about you subconsciously. You guys, everyone knows this. If you're a parent, you want to, to help redirect their attention, etc. When something like that happens, you immediately go to laughter. Why? Because it's the quickest way to change that entire frequency of that experience.
You ever notice how, with kids, if they fall down, they always look for their parents for the guidance because of the mirror.
How do I feel? Yeah, mirror neurons.
So if the parent's like, oh my God, the kid's like, oh my God, and they start crying, but the parent's like, hey, just get up and brush it off. The kid gets up and brushes it off.
Yep.
So, but we think we're doing the kid a favor by saying, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, why wouldn't I be? I'm like a half a foot off the ground. It's not like I fell off a building.
In fact, we tell ourselves, I'm not a good parent unless I must run over and coddle my child and say, oh, are you okay? Otherwise, I'm not loving, I'm not caring. That is a bullshit story, guys, that you're carrying. That's a bullshit narrative. And you got to call it on it and go, whoa. No, my kid fell a foot and a half. He's just fine.
Yeah, what's funny?
And I'm going to be what I want him or her to experience or also be, which is peaceful, calm, lead by example. We have these things called mirror neurons. And a mirror neuron, it's think about when you walk into a library. Why do you get quiet? Think about when you walk into a church. Why do you get quiet all of a sudden?
I used to get in the back of the head. That's why you're quiet. My dad would smack me if I was talking.
We're in the damn church.
Yeah.
No, but we pick up on our surroundings and we mirror that.
Yeah.
And this is so I work in real estate, right? Every time I walk up to a client, I am smiling ear to ear. Why? Because I know that client is going to be smiling back. Yeah. Guys, this is, I'm not a guru. No, I know how the body works. I know how this experience works. How you want to experience something. And think about this too, when you go get seated, or think about everybody who's complaining about the level of service they get, right? Oh, my servers always suck and all this stuff. And then think about that person. That person is sitting there with a scowl on their face. They're kind of pissed off about this day. And they expect the person that they come into contact with to be like, oh my God, how are you, etc. Jump into this whole thing. And no, their mirror neurons are picking up on your mirror neurons, and they're it's the energy is not there, and so people expect respect, they expect to be treated well, they expect all this stuff, but they don't ever do that.
Yeah.
And this is why we live in this society that's so messed up. Is nobody's giving respect, yet everybody's expecting respect. And this is why when I go out to eat or I go anywhere, the first thing I do is I give respect in how I address somebody, whether that's sir or ma'am or how are you or whatever, or the way I'm holding, how I'm smiling. If I'm delivering something to you, I know that's how I'll receive it. And so keep that in mind. A lot of us really think oh, this person should be treating me with respect. When you walk in with zero level of respect, a very basic, no smile, no nothing, just I don't know, stone cold face. How are you expecting, to be treated?
Yeah. And also too, you mentioned that, you go out, especially to a restaurant, like the waiter or waitress isn't only dealing with you. So the idea of we hear this action, become the change in which you want to see. So the coolest thing is wherever I'm out somewhere, and I know this, I've been doing this for years, and when I first started doing it, it was just my personality, but now I actually know how it works. Someone could be having a shitty day, and what's happened is I'll get them to open up and laugh. I'll just say something, and they'll start laughing. Then they'll like, oh, yeah, like, that guy over there may be miserable. I'm like, yeah, he's probably miserable himself. His wife made him take out the garbage or something.
Hell yeah.
And then Karen's like, why is that miserable? I'm like, oh, honey, let's not get into this right here.
Let's not get into this.
But then all of a sudden you change their demeanor, and all of a sudden I noticed that the waiter or waitress couldn't help to keep coming back to my table.
Oh, yeah.
So I lighten the whole mood. And because I want to experience that, I have to become the change. But when you're waiting for the change to happen, good luck.
Yeah, good luck is right.
And this is what happens. People
That's where 95% of the world's at, too.
Yeah, people go like this. I like this restaurant. The service is really good there. And I'm like every restaurant I go to, the service is good. Because I create this situation where I'm at.
That's exactly
right?
it.
And but what happened is, like, what they don't realize is the day they went to this restaurant and had good service, because then they're like, service is going downhill over there. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, they probably went in miserable.
Correct.
And like the mirror neurons, as Mike was talking about, created like damn, like, yeah, like check yourself.
That's it.
Check yourself.
That's how every experience is.
Yeah.
And think about this, guys. We all know this. So think about like Amazon reviews or any type of thing. You can tell when you're just like, dude, that person hates their life. Like,
yeah, half people tend not to make reviews.
Well,
they don't.
And we all know that too about like Yelp reviews and stuff like that. If you're gonna make the time to go on Yelp, it means I was pissed.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's got that level of time, they're so consumed and think that like, oh, my opinion really matters. My ego really matters. And I need to put my ego statement on this public website.
Yeah. Do you know what really happy people do?
Huh.
They hit the subscribe button on Perspective Shift.
I like that, Frank.
And thumbs up.
I like that.
That's what really happy people do.
But truly.
And everyone out there, you're happy, right?
That be what you want to experience. Stop saying, oh, after I have great service, then I'm going to, treat them as if you've already had great service and watch how good that service becomes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It
is.
That's the trick to this whole life.
Yeah. But, and that's it. And so to summarize here what we talked about with Matias, everything from the 7 principles to the 9 dimensions. When you start to understand them as best as you can understand them, because there is no end to understanding this fully. When you start looking at it, all of a sudden you notice your life becomes more exciting. When it's more exciting, the excitement is what allows it to work out in it. Because if everything comes and it's exciting, it worked out. But if you're trying to get it to, like, I need this thing to happen this way, I'm like, no, it's not how it works. It's not how life works. I want to be surprised.
The more we need something to happen, the more likely it's going to happen a different way.
Yeah, well, that's it. But yet, when you're actually, like, when you're just open to seeing how things work, it becomes magnificent.
Oh, yeah. Choose what you want to experience. I want to experience abundance. I want to experience happiness. I want to experience love. And watch how this manifests in your life.
How do you experience abundance? How do you experience laughter?
By becoming it.
You are, yes. You have to become that in which you are. If you are abundant, you get more abundance. Because in the physical world, nothing stays the same. Nothing is stagnant. Everything is vibrating in a direction. So if I feel abundant with $5, I've used this analogy before, in my pocket, and I can literally feel abundant, that 5 will turn into 10, then to 100, then to 1,000, then into 1,000,000.
Well,
but the opposite is the same. If I have $5 and I feel lacking, and turns into $250, now I owe $5. Now I owe $1,000. It doesn't stay the same. So, what direction do you want to look at? Why not use a choice of preference in that case?
I've probably said this before, but I've said this in the past. Like, think about, like a motivational speaker or, somebody getting up on a stage to talk to you, or a teacher, or whatever, a priest. It doesn't matter. But somebody in a position of, where they are, discussing or they're up there motivating. Nobody ever stands up and says, every day I woke up and I hated myself. Every day I woke up and I told myself I would never make it. Every day I told myself I was an unworthy, undeserving human being. And then one day I woke up and I had it all. That doesn't exist. In fact, it doesn't exist because it can't exist. And there's certain laws that we're discussing here that don't allow it to exist.
Unless you go to a conference and the main theme of the conference is misery.
Yeah, exactly. That would be it. But this is where
I'll go to a conference. Oh, it's on complete misery.
Yeah, it's only misery. There's nothing good about.
Oh, it's in Vegas.
Oh, sweet. We'll see you there. Talk about low vibe. Yeah. But truly, guys, think about that. Like, if that, it's funny to laugh at. Like, of course, you know nobody stands up and they talk about this, but that's what you're doing day in, day out. Is you're waking up, you're saying, today sucks. It's not my day. I'm not worthy. You know, if I only had this, you know, I'd be better. If my family was only born here, I would be better. If I was only born this gender or this race, I would be better. If I was only this, I would have a much better life. I'm the victim. This is where 98% of people live, and it's so hard for them to create because they're constantly only calling on the universe to continue to show them more of that. When that's what you're resonating, that's what you're vibrating, that's what your frequency is sharing, and so you only can interact with experiences that line up on that frequency. So you'll only be drawn to situations that quite honestly suck. You'll only be pulled into situations that are, you know, scary, dangerous, whatever. And it's because you're on that level of frequency. You're on that level of vibration. So if you want the experience that you're talking about, and if you want, you know, to allow yourself this love that you know you deserve, you have to begin to become it and embody it and be it. And I know this is hard to do based on the way we were conditioned and taught, which is, you know, you go out and you get and then you have. But once you rewrite the script and start retraining your brain to view it this way, oh my goodness, the river begins to flow. The floodgates open. Oh, my goodness. And I know this from personal experience. I'm telling you from personal experience because I was stuck there for a long time.
Yeah, but
the majority of my life.
But I think being stuck there was what allowed you to understand the power.
100%.
Yeah.
And I would never say, oh, I ought not to be stuck there.
No.
Because if I didn't get stuck, I would not know what we're talking about today. I would not have had a chance to experience that there's so much more out there.
There is. And also, too, I point this out a lot, and I do this to myself, or I do this for myself and for others. The more I become aware, the less I judge, and the more I open to other ideas, I actually have the ability to transmute energy to other human beings. Not to like, hey, you must do this. Because in the beginning, when I would read all this information like 20, 30 years ago, it all sounded profound. But I would read a book on psychology, and I walk up to someone, hey, you know what you need to do? Like, I wasn't utilizing it myself. I was judging other people by this. But I knew there was something profound about this information. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute. I need to be exercising this and keep my mouth shut. Go forth and tell no one. But in the act of me doing that and leveling up to my frequency, getting to my place where I'm like, wow, this feels really good. It never ends, by the way. All of a sudden, I notice people around me are shaking. And also, too, there's people around me that help transmuting me. I may not know who they are. So I'm not like the one that's, you know, that's doing it all. It's a culmination. We are one unit. We're coming back to remember. We're putting all the members back in, and we're all connected. We get into that heartfelt place. If I get into it, I have an effect, just like Mike talked about when he goes to a restaurant. His heartfelt attitude is what changes the waiter or waitress's attitude.
Every time.
Become that. Literally, that's your job, is to leave other people alone.
Please.
Leave them alone.
Yeah, please.
Do not harbor into them. Like, become
Stop judging them.
You want someone to laugh, you make the joke. Don't wait for them to laugh. You know, do that. And it better be a good joke.
It doesn't matter if it's a good joke.
Yeah.
Lighten the mood. Nobody's going to, hate on you for a bad joke. They're going to go, all right, at least he tried.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And sometimes a bad joke is the funniest joke of all.
Exactly.
Like, I can't believe that dude just said that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just
like when someone goes knock, knock, I just start laughing. I'm like, what are we, 10?
Uh-oh.
Knock, knock. I'm like,
here we go. Yeah. But Honestly, this was a great episode, guys.
Yeah.
Matias, we didn't even scratch the surface with him.
No.
There is so much. I mean, because guys, he goes into like detailed past lives and like very specific ways of how this universe vibrates, and we're touching more just on like the consciousness, the how this helps you become the creator that you all are. We're staying on that type of side of what he has to offer.
We'll get deeper into it. Yeah,
we'll come way.
We'll have him on the show one of these days.
Absolutely, and that will be exciting.
Yeah, so go check his stuff. Has content everywhere. He's on Gaia, obviously YouTube. You can find him everywhere. He's a young guy, but he's got a long life ahead of him.
Yeah,
and his name is gonna be just like Elvis's name.
I believe that.
Yeah. So check him out. He gets deep into like the ancient civilization. So anyone has interest in that, he's a great guy to listen to.
Great resource.
He's like 35, but he sounds like 35. He's been around for a million years.
Oh yeah, and he has.
Yeah.
His consciousness has, and that's what's so cool is he speaks from this very much place of knowing. And is very, very genuine and real.
Yep.
And people ask him specific questions, and he's able to answer those questions. It's very, very unique.
And that's what he's tapping into, that eighth dimension where all information exists.
Well, he talks about how he worked, quote unquote. One of his past lives was him working in the Akashic Records, which is super cool. I remember watching an episode on that. But like, that's what he kind of called himself. He's like, I
went up
like
there
one
time to get some information. Like, you can't take anything.
Well, he's like, people come up, they want to access a certain area. Great, we'll bring them to that area.
Yeah.
And that was a role he played. Guys, he's fascinating. Go take a listen.
Yep. All right. Hey, if you like what you heard today, go to the bottom and push subscribe. And that helps us out here on Perspective Shift. And also, too, if you have any comments or questions, go to perspectiveshift2020@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in another week. And as always, thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks, all.